All right then, well, let's touch on some breasts, pun intended. Of course, as we continue the Breast Awareness Month, we want to learn as much as possible as we can about the condition, how to check for it, how to protect yourself against it, and if you're unfortunate enough to be diagnosed with it, what is the way forward. It certainly is not the end of your life. There ought to be options that you can make. So let's learn a bit more from our guest. Dr. Irajua Kankamyabwa is a family medicine resident at Nyaho Hospital. How nice to see you, Doc.
Nice
Thanks
to see
for
you,
coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so today I want us to focus on the unfortunate eventuality that some women will face in their lives, that they will hear that diagnosis, that they have breast cancer. First of all, maybe we can learn a bit about how the diagnosis is done, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, so breast cancer, as everybody probably knows, is a cancer of the breast. A lot of people tend to realize it when they have a lump in their breast. There are a few times where they don't have a lump in their breast, but it's still there. But usually when they present, there are other things that, they notice to be off. Weight loss, when you've not planned to lose weight, all of a sudden your clothes don't fit quite well. If a low-grade fever, what we call a low-grade fever, so it's not really that high, but every day you notice that, you are actually warmer, and it's not just that you feel warm, as in you take a thermometer and it's actually warm. At night you find yourself sweating when nobody else seems to be sweating. I mean, it's quite warm in these parts, so definitely, but there are all these funny other issues. So when you realize that, then the nipple retraction, that's when the nipple goes back inside the breast, and other skin changes. So when you notice these things, then there's that suspicion that you may be having the breast cancer. The most definitive way of knowing that somebody has breast cancer is when we do the biopsy.
Right.
Okay, so they take a sample of whatever tissue they are suspecting. They take it to the labs, they'll have a look at it, run some tests, and then that's what confirms that you have cancer of the breast. There are so many different types, and the management for each of them slightly differs. But once there's the confirmation, and then depending on the staging of the cancer, that is the size of the lump, whether it's spread to other organs, how the architecture of the breast is looking like. The management surgically can range from just the removal of the lump or to the complete breast removal, what we call the mastectomy.
Yeah.
Yes. And then there are other treatment options to which may also be explored, and what we call the chemotherapy, radiation therapy, immunotherapy, because some of them tend to have the receptors for certain components, so we can give to them just to try and bring it down. Some of these cancers are sensitive to hormones, that's estrogen, progesterone. These are hormones that are normally produced by the body, and are also found in contraception pills. And that's why we always say that, ideally, if you want to start contraception, it's always best for you to see a doctor, because somebody who has that family history of cancer and all of that, you need to make sure, because when you're taking such medications, what they do is that they amplify the effect of the cancer, and it grows more quickly, it spreads a bit more quickly. So all of these come into play. And then, of course, the individual's condition. If you have a very fit woman, in great shape, doesn't have any other issues, your, should I say, field of play will be a bit different than maybe a much elderly woman, has other issues, hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol issues, mobilities. All of these factors come into play. So in as much as there are these treatment modalities, really it's on an individual basis, and it depends on the person. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned radiotherapy and chemo.
Yes.
First of all, tell us a bit about these two. What are the differences, and what does each entail?
Okay, so radiotherapy basically is a radiation therapy. So what that means is that they are exposing certain rays to the affected parts. And what it's going to do is that it's going to basically kill the affected cells in that area in order to make sure that they don't get the opportunity to keep going, to keep spreading. And usually it's done when the cancer is localized at a specific area, so you can do that. Chemotherapy is normally given when the cancer has spread a bit more. So you have very powerful medications which are given to you. It has a timed cycle, so you come in to the hospital, they give to you, you go back at specific time. And these are very strong medications, and they kill rapidly growing cells, which are what the cancer cells are. So they're able to target that. Unfortunately, because they target rapidly growing cells, there are other parts of the body too that also get hit by friendly fire, so to speak. So things like the hair, things like the skin cells, especially lining the mouth and all of that. You know, these cells are always growing, always being replaced, and we don't take notice of them. But when the chemo comes in, that's how come you hear people saying that, oh, she went for chemotherapy, or her hair fell out, or she noticed she had some ulcers in her mouth, that sort of thing. So that's basically the idea behind the chemotherapy, the radiation. Yeah.
Are they all effective? These rather extreme treatments, if you will.
So it really depends on the patient and how advanced it is. Okay. For somebody who, like I said, is been caught early, and that's why so much of the breast cancer awareness has been about early detection, because once it's been caught early, for a lot of people, they're able to take out the lump. If they need to do any radiation therapy, they do that, and that's just it. And then we just put them, you know, on an alert and watch, and then we just keep watching for the cancer. And a lot of people after that are very privileged not to have a recurrence.
Wow.
In other cases, what we also do is that we give these chemotherapies and the rest to reduce the burden on the body. So for that, it's not a complete clearance, but if the person is able to withstand the chemo, okay, it at least reduces the burden for the individual, increasing life expectancy. So you have a bit more time to put your things in order, enjoy family and friends before, if anything, the inevitable does happen. And again, individual differences, because like I said, somebody can be diagnosed maybe stage 3, but it's in fairly good shape, you know. That person definitely has a better prognostic chance than someone who already is riddled with a lot of issues, even though they may both be at the same staging. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. So is it expensive, you know, to treat breast cancer?
Yes and no. Yes, because anything that is this intensive and it's a long-term therapy, it's not going to be a one-time thing, has costs. No, because a good chunk of these things are covered by national health insurance. So once you have that, you are going to be a bit okay, yes. There are just a few more add-ons that are not, should I say, strictly speaking, therapy, but may be needed along the way. That may contribute to costs, you know, because things like having to take time off from work, that's an extra cost, especially if you're in a place where they wouldn't be paying you. So in a sense, that comes at an extra cost. You may need blood transfusions, so having people to come over to come and donate blood for you, and that is also a cost in quotes. So that's what makes it a bit tricky. But most of the treatment is covered by the national health insurance.
Generally, what are the numbers in terms of survival rates? You know, what percentage of people diagnosed with breast cancer actually survive and never have recurrence?
So the survival rate is actually dependent on the stage that you are picked up. Okay, so people who are picked up in stage 1 as high as 90–95%, depending on the region you find yourself in, obviously. But yes, a very high expectancy rate. Okay. You go to stage 4, which is the last stage, terminal stage, and it really drops down to 30 to 15%. Worldwide, it varies a lot because of the technology and the medications that they have available to them. Yes. So that's just it. Yeah.
You know, I guess the cheapest thing really is to not get breast cancer.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean,
if
you can. So there are certain things that we call modifiable factors. So those are things you have in control, like alcohol drinking, cigarette smoking, obesity. Everybody needs to lose weight nowadays. Exercise. So these are things that you can do something about. But when you have something like a family history or a genetic predisposition, that's really not something that is within your scope. Yes, so you really can't control about that. But yes, I mean, you can also do what you can to try and make it less likely.
Did you follow the discussion in Parliament yesterday about breast sucking?
I partners of women can also help. I mean, that is, I mean, more power to them and all. But, you know, not everybody tends to be in a monogamous relationship for a very long time. And that's why we are trying to push the onus to the women themselves that try and do self-examinations. Yes, that's
Don't
what
make
it is.
someone else's
Don't make,
responsibility.
exactly.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
At Nyaho, have you found that people are particularly interested in breast cancer this particular month? Have you had inquiries from more people?
We have had inquiries. We have had so many people. So, you know, for the month of October, every Wednesday, we do free breast screenings at our end. And the response has been amazing. You know, we have so many women coming, and even some men coming to be screened for breast cancer. And even on a regular day, apart from the October month being breast cancer month, we have women who walk up to us and be like, oh, can you check my breast for me as part of their annual physical examination? I think right now it's really great because it's not just a one-man show. Everybody is on board. I think virtually every hospital now is offering breast screenings because the information is out there. People are aware. So yes, you have a lot of people coming in concerned about this. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so if there were like 3 things you think everybody should know about breast cancer, what would they be?
The first thing is that early detection saves lives. The second thing would be that breast cancer is treatable and manageable. The third thing I would want people to know is that people with breast cancer are people. They do need our support, they do need our help, they do need our love, because a lot of times what we realize is people end up very anxious, very depressed, very angry because they feel that people don't really recognize the impact of the devastation to their lives. You know, I made a comment about how in terms of treatment, certain things are not really cost in quotes, like when you have to go. But sometimes, you know, certain basic things that we can do to help them would go a long way. You know, a young mother, she has to go for chemo. You can offer to pick her kids up from school. It's really not a big deal. And it would mean so much to her that she wouldn't have to go in that state to go and pick her up. Offer to cook meals. In Ghana, I think we are very sociable, you know. Everybody is everybody's cousin, everybody is everybody's aunt. These are the little things that we can do. When people think of support, they immediately think they have to give out some big amount of money. It doesn't have to be that. Sometimes just company, you know, accompany the person to go, and when the person is going to the hospital, they need somebody to hold their hands. They need somebody to let them know that you are not in this alone. You are not, and you know, there are so many things going on with other people. Some jobs can be very insensitive. Let's be real here. The moment they see that, okay, this person has this issue or so, we can't continue to keep you on payroll. Maybe it's best if you took a leave of absence so that you can sort yourself out. That's how it's always been put. And there's that pressure on them. So you can take up so many other little things. But most of all, you know, sometimes I understand it's the awkwardness. You feel funny going to someone and saying, I heard this about you, because you are not sure how the person will take it. But really, the person may feel uncomfortable trying to open up to you. So it's okay to make a gesture. It's okay to take the first step. They need that sort of community, you know, around them in order to be able to make it. And all of our studies are showing that people who have great support at home, people who have that loving impact in them, they tend to do better on treatment. You know, it's not just the medicine, it's not just the cutting. It really goes a long way to boost survival rates for breast cancer sufferers. Yeah.
Dr. Rajwa Kankam Yabua, we can't thank you enough for making the time to educate us on breast cancer. Our awareness this breast cancer month continues. We'll learn something new next time, but until then, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.